Hey everybody, it is Deanna, Sassy Girl Entrepreneur with the Sassy Girl Entrepreneur Show. I am so excited to have you here today. Today we are going to be talking about starting a freelance business. So this is great for anybody who has a talent and you've been thinking about starting a business and you're just really not sure if you should do it. Maybe it's a side hustle. Maybe you lost your job and you're trying to think of different things you can do, a service you can provide for other people. Well, if that's you, if it sounds familiar, then I am so excited that you're here today. I have my friend Colleen Lozano, who is a freelancer, joining me, and I want to share her story, her insight, because Colleen and I have known each other for quite a while, and she helps me out on a lot of my stuff with Sassy Girl Media. I'm so appreciative of her insight, her talent, her knowledge. I could go on and on. But Colleen, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I am too. And like I said, you've helped me so much with so many different things, whether it is in Sassy Girl Media and you're helping me create content or create those Google ads that I love, or if it's me picking up the phone, calling you and bouncing an idea off, I appreciate having you around and everything you do. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'm always happy to help. That seems to be like my motto. Happy to help.
You might be one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. So talk to me. How did you get into freelancing?
Well, it wasn't by planning or choice or anything like that. It's just the way that life took me. I was working in the corporate world and I left my company because I just wasn't a good fit anymore. And I didn't know what I wanted to do anymore, but I know I wanted to do something bigger, better, and more. And working in the corporate world, you're kind of fixated on their structure, their way of doing things that doesn't leave a whole lot of room for personal growth, growth with the company, because if you don't fit into their plan. And I worked for a large accounting firm, and I'm sure, as you know, I'm super bubbly, I'm outgoing, that I was, I made a lot of great friends and I learned there, but I didn't quite fit in all the time. So it took a while for all my accountant friends to get used to me.
Yes, I would have to agree. Like, I was shocked when I first found out that was the industry you were in, because you don't fit the typical mold of an accountant.
No, I mean, I eventually warmed up to everybody, or they warmed up to me. So after a couple of years, it was a good fit. And like I said, I learned so much working there, and I'm very appreciative of everything, the knowledge, experience that I got, because it's really, really helped me tremendously in this freelance world. So, I mean, I can't have nothing negative to say. It's just after almost 4 years of working there, it was time to move on, time to do something, and really time to channel and do the things that I'm good at. And had I not worked in such it was a great work environment, but the working world itself there was challenging, and it wasn't stuff I was interested in. So. Oh. Well, yeah, I worked in finance. I'm not really a numbers person, so it was definitely a challenge. And I did work with our marketing director a lot, and everything I was doing with her, it was like, oh, I like this. Oh, this is fun. So she was kind of like the catalyst that exposed me to the marketing world, and then being the lead in that department for my line of service to then work with her. Kind of like when I left, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something that I enjoyed. And I've always been creative. This is kind of funny, but I've always enjoyed helping others. And I remember I had this mentor. I was so excited to work with this mentor. She was based out of Chicago in our another office. And when I finally got time to meet her one-on-one and sit down to work on a plan for my professional development, and I don't know if well, of course, you mentor people, so you know what it's like. But this woman, she's like, what do you like to do? And I was like, I like to help people, because I didn't have an interest in accounting or finance. So she was trying to discover the things that I personally enjoy. And I remember she was pretty hardcore, and she was like, well, helping people doesn't make you money. And I was like, what? I remember I was
Yes,
so,
it does. Doing
it
it for free
does.
doesn't make you money, but people pay a lot of money to get help.
I know. I felt so let down because I was so excited because I learned a lot about this woman, and I was so excited to have her as a mentor, just another person to look up to or learn from. And then when she said that to me, I was like, oh. And so then that was kind of a changing point for me. You know, I was kind of like, that was toward the end of my time at that company. And when I went into the freelancing world, I was in between jobs. And as most people know, if you don't know what you want to do, it's hard to land another job, especially when all of your experience is in a industry that you don't like. Not that there's anything wrong with working in accounting and finance. It just wasn't for me.
Right.
And so it was tough. And I actually, one of my wealth management clients, she's a serial entrepreneur. She owns multiple companies. She has her own consulting company as well as shopping companies. And she was like, oh, Colleen, come work for me, because we worked together for years. And she's like, oh, find stuff to do. And, you know, at first I was hesitant. So I kind of just volunteered a little bit because I was still seriously job hunting. And then as time went on, and I know it's like a lot of people share this frustration when you're applying everywhere for jobs. It's like it would get down to like me and someone else, and they would always pick that other person, no matter the job and no matter how I found out about the job, whether I knew the hiring manager or whether I was more qualified. It came down to like I just never got picked, and it was just hard. It was hard to move on from like constant rejection like that. And then I started to do more with my previous client. And then eventually when I developed enough skill set, I started branching out with working with you, and I've helped several other people that we work with. And I worked with everyone from jewelry, furniture, photography, you know, you name it. You know, I've worked in that industry. So I think for myself and someone who has such a diverse background, it's like, I think that makes it easier for me to jump in and help a company that I may not be familiar with.
Yeah. Do you think now, looking back, I know during the moment when you had those interviews, right, and they picked the other person over you, it had to feel so defeating. But looking back now, do you think like, oh my gosh, this is probably the path I was supposed to be on? So I was probably, was probably the best solution. Like, this is where I was supposed to be. Or do you know?
You know what? Looking from where I am now,
Yes.
yes, I do look back and I think about it, and I was like, maybe it's God's plan. That's why nothing ever worked out for me, because my whole life I have been a very organized and regimented person. I like security. I like consistency. I don't like the up and down. And so in the beginning of freelancing, there's no certainty. It's like you can have a job one day and making good money, and the next month, no. So to me, it took a long time to adjust to that lifestyle. So it's like, I remember my sisters and my close friend, I would just like every other week, I felt like I was crying, you know, because I'm like, oh my God, this is awful, because I'm so used to structure. I'm so used to being held accountable and being on top of things that it was a really hard adjustment. But I think, like you said, the reason it didn't work out is because I think I was truly meant to do what I'm doing now. And I love it. Like, I mean, I've applied for jobs in between, and I've gotten offers, and I've gotten, like the opportunities to move out of state and stuff. And it always comes down to one thing. And it's like, freedom. Like, you have your freedom. It's like living this lifestyle. I can go to the gym when I want. Well, prior to COVID.
Yeah. Pre-COVID.
You know, if I want to go spend a month with my sister, I can drive down North Carolina and go spend a month with my sister. If I want to go hike in Arizona, I can go hike in Arizona, you know? So it was like, for the job offers that I got, I sat down, pros and cons, is like, is it worth leaving this lifestyle? And yeah, I'm not making the money that they would have paid me, and that's kind of, you know, stinks, but it's like, life's too short. So I'm much more happier doing this than I would be working in another corporate job under somebody else's choices.
Right. So what was it like when you first made the decision to be a freelancer? Or did that decision never really happen because you were still looking, you were just filling the no job time with ways to bring in money. Like,
So I was pretty fortunate. I had some savings. So I was really hardcore job searching, but I still had some savings that was helping out. But I didn't really have an option like to choose the freelance world or not. I just, because I was getting rejected constantly because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And it was just after some time, it was like, okay, I need to make money because nobody wants to hire me.
yeah.
And then it snowballed into more and more. And again, like you said, I think it's just meant to be. I'm much happier. I'm making money. I can support myself. I'm doing fun things. So, and isn't that what life's about? Time with family, friends, and
I think so.
Yeah.
So when did you make that decision that, you know what, this is my path? Was it?
I want to say it was.
Did it take a while?
I want to say it took like at least a year. At least a year, because I want to say it was like the end of 2018, and I had been doing this for about a year, and then I was trying to learn stuff before, so it was a solid year of doing this. I want to say where I was like, okay, this is it. I'm just gonna make money at this. So I went and I think honestly, I think it was about the time I hooked up with you. Like, I know we've always known each other, but I remember sitting and I not constantly, like once a week or something, got all these like upbeat, positive emails from you. And then I kept reading them and I was like, I haven't seen or talked to Deanna in years. And then I sat on it for 3 days and I just loved everything you were saying in your emails. And I think that was a turning point to me because I had only been working with my previous client who has a bunch of companies. And I was like, well, I'm doing all this e-commerce stuff and but I want to learn this stuff. And then everything you were pitching, I was just like, I like what she stands for. She's helping other women, you know, she's putting herself out there. She's turned something into a job for her. You know, I just didn't know what I wanted to learn from you, but I knew I just had to reach out. And I remember I sat on it for a couple days and I'm like, she probably doesn't even remember who I am.
I remembered you and I didn't realize that it came from you reading my emails. I don't think I've ever heard you say that, but I do remember when you first reached out and said, can we talk? I think it was through Facebook Messenger. I'm like, yeah. And I think you may have actually said, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm like, of course I remember you. Like, yeah.
I think it was an email because I remember I responded to one of your newsletters and I was like, do you remember me? I don't know, but I love everything you stand for and I read all your emails and I just need to be a part of your community.
I do remember you saying that now. Yes, I do remember you saying that.
It was like after a couple days, because you always have that fear you're going to be that weird person reaching out to someone. And then, so I sat on it for a couple days and I was like, I just had this feeling that I had to connect with you again. So
I love it.
I'm really glad I did because look how far I've come. Like a lot of it has to do with your help.
Oh, thank you. I'm really glad you did too. And if anybody's listening, if there's like somebody you've been sitting on it for 3 days about connecting with them, I say do it, right? Because I know, Colleen, I appreciate you saying like you gained so much from me, but I've gained a lot from you as well. So I would absolutely encourage anybody, just pull the trigger, reach out to somebody. The worst they can do is just not respond. And then they really shouldn't have been in your life anyhow. Right.
Right.
So when you first started off and you realized, okay, like, a year into doing freelance work, this is something that you wanted to continue doing, what were some of the biggest struggles that you faced?
I think the biggest struggle was being alone. Like I've never really worked for myself before because I've always had the mindset I had to work for another corporation. I had to work the corporate ladder and stuff, which I did in 2 pretty male dominant fields. So it was pretty tough. But like in the freelance world, I'm a super, super social person. I like to be involved in things. I like to have a lot of friends. I don't like to just sit by myself all the time. So I think the biggest adjustment for me was being by myself because you sit at home by yourself. You do all your work you talk to people on the phone and Zoom. And as we're all learning right now, it's not the same. Yeah. So then I started going to the library, but nobody talks to you in the library. So at least you see people. Then I started working from Panera and Boardman, the one by the high school. I would just go there, sit by myself and try not to bother the work staff. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody's talking to me. You know, like when my friends got off work, I was like, what are you doing? Can I come over? You know, so it was, I think that was the hardest adjustment next to the inconsistency and stability. You know, that from someone like me who I don't have mass amount of wealth or people to help me out financially because I'm single, and my cats can't get a job. So it's just me. That financially it was hard, and it was a lot of like cycles of oscillation, like the ups and downs, and so financially and the aloneness was rough start in the beginning.
Yeah. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, whether you're in freelance or whatever, just when you're running a business by yourself, I think a lot, including myself, experience that you feel alone. There's nobody really understands what you're going through other than another entrepreneur. They get it. And, you know, sometimes you're comfortable sharing, and the good stuff is always easy to share, right? But when you're stuck, when you are really stuck and you're not really sure what to do, or you've just had the worst month in the entire year and you feel like crap, right? And you just are like, how do I redo that? You can't just turn to anybody, you know, and have that conversation, because you know they can squash you even more, and you need that circle of other entrepreneurs, of other friends who get it, to just keep pushing you. That's what I have found.
And that is one of the biggest things I got from connecting with you, is when you started inviting me to your events to learn things, and then your networking events, and then I was meeting all these wonderful people that you've helped over the years, and then they slowly became my friends, and then I've been able to help them in other areas. And then it's like, now it's like, because of you, I have this like community of entrepreneurs that I can go and ask. Like, if I have a question, I can reach out to you and be like, Deanna, what's this? Or I can reach out to someone I met through you, Carolyn at YoFresh. I'm like, Carolyn, what do you think? So it's been, that to me has been the number one thing about working with you and for you and whatever. Sassy Girl community really has helped me tremendously emotionally and within my own freelancing. Just having ideas off and that understanding.
Thank you. That's awesome to hear. You know, it takes a lot of time and a lot of work to build a community like that. And sometimes you think it's for nothing. It's just that it's taken for granted. And COVID, you know, because then participation, you're not meeting live anymore, right? And on my end, it gets frustrating. So it's so nice to hear something like that, of how that community really helped you out. Let's get back to freelance. Although I'll take pats on the back all day long, but so when did you start to find balance in your business? Or like, you know what? Like, I understand, like, these are my biggest struggles. It's hard being alone. It's super inconsistent, but I can do it. And I need to work some of those kinks out. When did that happen?
I want to say probably a year and a half into being a freelancer. And it was, for me, it was more of a mindset that I had to fix. It was like, in my head, I had that what I determined to be successful wasn't applicable to my lifestyle anymore. You know, because I've always worked for larger companies. So I have that mindset, like, oh, if I do 3 years of this, then I'll be promoted to this and I'll make this much money. And then another 2 years I could do this, you know, and then you bend over backwards to make your boss happy, hoping that eventually it'll pay off. And then when it doesn't, you're just crushed. And it really hurts your, like your grit, your willingness to do something, if that makes sense. And so I think I had some emotional things I had to fix. And I think I needed a year and a half to do that. And then I had to set new goals, get in a better mind frame, and to realize this is my life now. This is what I choose. And these, I have to set new goals that are more fitting. And again, not to keep blowing it up, but you put on the goal thing that oh gosh, what's it called? The program you do. I went to the Shenango Valley when you did it.
Oh, the goal planning success, the
planning or
vision
something.
board and goal planning success workshop.
So yeah, so I went to that one, and you held it at the Shenango Valley
Yes,
Rotary Club or something like that. I can't
at
remember
the Chamber of Commerce in the beginning of 2020.
And I was like, oh,
right
I got
before
goals. And then you're like, write down like 1,000 goals. Like, what? And it was more like 50.
It was 50, yeah. It wasn't 1,000.
So it was so hard to do that. And then it made me see everything, because when you write it down, it makes a difference 100%. 100%. And after you had me write everything down and go through it and pick the priorities and change things, it was an eye-opener for me, because I always just have in my head my goal of my white picket fence, and I didn't really have a plan to get there except working really hard. And then I felt like I was just spinning wheels, and I was never getting anywhere. So, because of your goal planning class, I was able to go, I need to write this down. I need to have realistic steps to reach the goals that I want. And it's no longer a white picket fence. It's freedom, it's travel, and it's being happy for myself. And it's helping people.
Right, which you can make money doing.
I can make money at helping people.
So I love that you just shared that, right? And I think a lot of people, when they are creating goals, and let me, I guess, just say this first, side note for those of you that are listening or watching. Colleen, yes, she does help me in my business, and we are in the same industry, but she also has taken workshops from me, and I've helped coach her as well, about hitting her goals, about creating a business and growing it from wherever she was, launching and growing a business. Because when we first started talking, you really were in the beginning stages of that. So do you think working with a coach was beneficial, or do you think you would have figured out how to change your mindset and realize your goals on your own?
I think eventually I would have, but because I didn't, I was able to realize what I wanted sooner, and I was able to take the steps possible to get to where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think, and again, it is, you don't realize it when you work for other companies, because you have other employees you can talk to or vent to. You have a boss who demands certain things of you. You have a set in stone schedule, so you can have checks and balances when you work for someone else. But when you work for yourself, you only have yourself to hold yourself accountable. And I like to be really nice to myself. So if I don't want to do something, but if somebody wants me to do something, I will do it. But I personally found it so beneficial to have you in my corner. And even if, like, I think I said to you a couple times on our calls, I was like, I feel like I'm not a therapist. I just unload all of my emotions on you. And you, I think this might not be the right way you worded it, but you were like, that's okay, because you just need to get it out. And I'm here to listen. Like, you didn't make me feel bad for using you as a psychiatry session. So, I mean, so like, I think they started off productive, and then like the last like 30 minutes was just like, oh my God, this is up and down too much. I can't do this. So I would say 100%, if you are looking to start your own company or become a freelancer, even if you have a plan, it's always nice to have a coach, someone to hold you accountable, and even just give you a different perspective. Like, that was the one thing. Like, sometimes, I'm I think I know everything, and I know I don't. But if I tell you something and then you give me a different perspective, it's like, oh, and it just makes me better. So I 100% working with a coach is worth the investment for sure.
I would agree. And I have a coach. So it's not like I'm the high all be all. Like, I don't have all the answers.
You are to me, Deanna.
Huh?
You are the high of all beings to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I am not, and I don't have all the answers, and I hit the same roadblocks. And I agree. I think if you are a freelancer, if you own a business, I think it's imperative to invest in yourself. Obviously, I believe having a coach is really important. I also believe in continuing your education and always be plugged in. Like, the minute that you think that you know everything, then everything passes you up, and you don't. You really don't. So I appreciate you sharing that because I see the value in that as well. And I love working with you too. So as we wrap this up, if somebody is thinking about starting and going into freelance, or maybe they want a side hustle, right? But they are at that crossroads of, and again, COVID did a lot, right? People lost their jobs. Jobs of like some may be on unemployment where it's like kind of on hold in a sense. They didn't completely lose their jobs, but life has changed and a lot of people are working from home. But if somebody is like, this is the right time for me to think about doing this, what advice would you give to them?
I would say just do it. I know it, if you think about it too much and you want to have it planned out all the way, because, we're taught to make things perfect. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. But if you want to do something, you can do it. There are inexpensive ways to start a company small. I mean, you don't necessarily have to quit your job and go full scale. You can slowly integrate it as your side hustle. And then as you grow it, then you can decide if you want to leave your regular job. Don't if you need help figuring things out, I'm a huge problem solver. I can definitely help
Call Colleen.
Feel free to message me on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. I'm more than happy to help bounce some ideas off of how you could get started. I've worked in every industry from working with attorneys to working for the U.S. House of Representatives to working for a huge accounting firm. Worked for the Board of Elections. I worked in the restaurant industry when I was in college.
Wow.
So I've really done a little bit of everything, and I'm happy to. Oh, I worked for a real estate firm too. So,
if you name it, Colleen knows.
I know. I just wasn't somebody who knew exactly what I wanted to do, and that's okay. And eventually I found my way from great people like you and the other. I got a sister who's a overachiever, so she kind of pushes me too. But if anybody needs us help, feel free to message me. Like I said, I'm more than happy to help anybody come up with an idea to make your life happier.
Awesome. And I will share in the comments how you can reach Colleen as well. So take a look in the notes, whether you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts or if you are on YouTube or if you're actually on my blog looking at it, listening, watching, check out the notes and you will find out how to reach Colleen. So Colleen, I want to thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with me to talk about freelance. I know that what you shared is going to bring a lot of value to others who are debating about it because it is a very scary step. The unknown is always kind of scary. So I love that you are an example of what you can do. And I kind of, not to get off too much, but I kind of laugh because you're like, oh, I started this freelance and 3 years later, I'm still doing it. It was temporary,
Yeah,
so I think
it was definitely supposed to be temporary, and I'm so happy with it.
But you are on the right path. You are on the path you're meant to be on. You finally see it. You're good at what you do. So thank you. Thank you for sharing some time with me today.
Oh, no, I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to help. And thank you for all of your guidance and patience.
No problem. All right, guys, we will catch you later and we'll see you next week.